There was a particular sound that defined school life in 1950s Britain, the sharp, echoing clang of the brass bell. It wasn't just a signal. It was a command that swept across the playground. Within seconds, children formed neat, perfectly straight lines, shoes polished, hands held firmly behind their backs. The chatter faded, replaced by a stillness that feels almost unimaginable today. Back then, discipline wasn't something reserved for rare moments. It shaped every hour, every transition, every expectation. The bell didn't simply mark time. It announced a return to order, a reminder that school was a place of routine and respect. And some of those everyday rituals were so precise, so unwavering, that today's pupils might struggle to believe they happened not occasionally, but every single day. It was only the beginning of what discipline truly meant in that era. To understand why discipline played such a central role in 1950s schools, you have to picture Britain in the years just after the war. Communities were rebuilding, not only in a physical sense, but in spirit and attitude. Families valued structure, respect, and routine because these qualities had carried them through difficult times. Schools became the places where those values were passed on, shaping children into steady, dependable young adults who could help rebuild a nation finding its feet again. Inside the classrooms, everything reflected this desire for order. Wooden desks were arranged in neat rows, each one carved with the marks of earlier pupils. Chalkboards dominated the front wall, their slate surfaces dusted with fine white powder. Exercise books sat stacked on tables, their crisp pages waiting to be filled with careful handwriting. Mornings often began with hem practice, while nature tables displayed pine cones, leaves, and seashells gathered from family walks. Head takers walked the corridors with calm authority, believing deeply in quietness, good manners, and steady behavior. Their aim wasn't harshness, it was stability. Good habits were seen as essential building blocks for life, and discipline was the steady thread woven through every school day. This mindset shaped everything that followed. 1. The morning lineup rituals. Every school morning began long before lessons started, with a ritual that felt almost ceremonial. As soon as the bell rang, pupils moved quickly into position, forming perfectly straight rows across the playground. Teachers walked slowly along the lines, checking tidiness from head to toe. Shirts tucked, shoelaces tied, hair neat, and hands placed firmly behind backs. Silence was expected, and remarkably, it arrived within seconds. Even on frosty winter mornings, children stood absolutely still, breath misting in the air as everyone waited for the smallest signal. A single nod from a teacher meant the line could move forward, filing calmly toward the doors. It was a moment that set the tone for the entire day, reminding everyone that order wasn't just encouraged, it was part of school life itself. For many, it became a memory that lasted forever. 2. Unbreakable classroom etiquette. Once inside the classroom, another set of unwritten expectations took over, shaping the atmosphere as surely as the rows of wooden desks. Pupils were taught to stand whenever they spoke, addressing teachers with formal courtesy that now feels almost ceremonial. Chairs scraped softly across the floor as children rose, then settled again with quiet thuds. Exercise books were opened with care, pages filled with handwriting that teachers monitored closely. The famous instruction to sit up straight echoed throughout the day, a reminder that posture was part of learning. Around them, classroom sounds created a rhythm of their own. The steady tick of the clock, the slow sweep of chalk on the board, and the soft flutter of turning pages. These routines weren't just rules. They shaped how lessons unfolded, creating a sense of calm focus that many still remember. And within that structure, pupils learned exactly where they stood, both literally and figuratively. It formed habits that stayed with them. 3. Punishments that weren't really punishments back then. Corrective routines in 1950s schools were so common that many pupils barely thought of them as punishments at all. They were simply part of the school day. Writing lines was one of the most familiar tasks, a steady repetition that encouraged care and reflection. Standing quietly facing the wall was another, giving children a moment to pause and reset. Sometimes pupils stayed behind after lessons for extra practice, working through handwriting, reading, or sums, until they felt confident. Copying the classroom rules into exercise books was also used regularly, reinforcing expectations through steady repetition. None of these actions were seen as dramatic. They were ordinary, almost predictable responses to everyday classroom lapses. And for some pupils, these routines even became part of the rhythm of school life, creating moments of stillness within busy days. Looking back now, it can feel surprising how natural these practices seemed, yet they were woven firmly into the culture of the time for everyone involved. 4. The strict silence rules. Silence was one of the strongest expectations in 1950s schools, and it shaped the atmosphere more than almost anything else. Corridors were famously quiet, with pupils walking in single file, footsteps echoing softly against polished floors. In lunch queues, whispering was allowed, but only just, and even then children kept their voices low out of habit. Inside the classroom, talking without permission was unthinkable. Lessons unfolded in near silence, broken only by the turning of pages or the gentle shuffle of gym plimsolls during transitions. This quietness wasn't simply about control. It created a calm, steady environment where pupils could focus without the constant noise we take for granted today. And while it might seem unusually strict now, that shared hush became one of the defining memories of school life in that era, shaping how children learned and moved together. Looking back, it's natural to wonder what all that structure really did to us. On one hand, the discipline of the 1950s shaped a generation known for resilience, responsibility, and quiet determination. We learned to wait our turn, to listen carefully, and to carry ourselves with a certain respect for others. Patience wasn't a lesson taught once. It was woven into the rhythm of every school day, in the long queues, the silent corridors, and the calm routines that guided us from lesson to lesson. Yet there's another side to it too. The same order that made us dependable also made many of us cautious, choosing silence over speaking up, and calm compliance over curiosity. Still, these memories come wrapped in a warm glow. The smell of freshly sharpened pencils, the cold hall floors during assemblies, and the satisfying crack of opening a new exercise book at the start of term. Imperfect as it was, that system shaped who we became, leaving us with habits and values that stayed long after school days ended. And those memories gently lead us to consider how different school life feels now. Step into a modern classroom, and it feels like another world entirely. Flexible seating replaces rigid rows, pupils speak more freely, and digital screens glow where chalkboards once stood. Today's lessons move quickly, filled with color, sound, and instant connection, a pace that would have felt unimaginable in the quiet. Measured days of the 1950s, schools now encourage expression, collaboration, and student voice, reflecting a world that's faster, louder, and constantly changing. It wasn't perfect, but it was the school life that shaped us, and its memories still stay with us today. Wait, if you grew up in Old Britain, you'll want to see what I couldn't include in this video. I've posted the deeper story and extra memories on WhatsApp channel. The link is in the description. Join us there. It wasn't perfect, but it was the school life that shaped us, and its memories still stay with us today. Share your own school day stories in the comments below. For more of these unbelievable memories, tap the video on your screen. The 1970s stories are something else. Don't forget to subscribe.